What if I told you that the wisest king in the Bible, King Solomon, started his reign by killing his own brother? Does he really need to do that? This is the story of Adonijah, the prince who had everything and lost it all in one fatal mistake. Was Adonijah a power-hungry rebel who deserved it, or the casualty of ancient Israel's most savage political chess match? Buckle up. Solomon's throne is about to look very different. These are the types of content I create. If you're interested, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss upcoming videos. Who was Adonijah? Adonijah was David's fourth son, and after 3 brothers died, he's the oldest one. Born to Haggith, one of David's Hebron wives, aka political alliance in human form. By the time David was old and dying, he's basically the CEO's firstborn. Everyone's already measuring him for the corner office. He was the golden child who never heard no, so he decided to crown himself. Imagine growing up as a spoiled brat who literally never got grounded. No timeouts, no we need to talk, no face the wall, not even a stern look from dad. That was this guy's entire life. 0 accountability, 100% entitlement. So when he looked around and thought, I could totally run this place, it wasn't exactly surprising. He was handed everything without ever hearing the word no. In his mind, the throne was just the next upgrade, like sports car to private jet. The formula? No boundaries. Plus unchecked ambition equals, why shouldn't I be king? When you've never heard no, you start thinking everything's already yours, even crowns that aren't. Plot twist. The Bible says the same thing about Absalom, Adonijah's older brother and actual coup guy. So, did David's parenting accidentally produce 2 rebels? But here's nobody talks about. Joab, that longtime military commander, was like a GPS that keeps recalculating when it doesn't like your route. Joab was fiercely loyal to David's kingdom. Think of him as the ultimate co-pilot, but here's the twist. Whenever David's directions didn't match Joab's internal navigation system, Joab just rerouted. He killed Abner when David explicitly said, "Don't take that exit." He executed Absalom despite David's desperate turnaround now. And when the succession GPS said Solomon, Joab was like, nah, I'm taking the Adonijah highway instead. Why ignore the directions? Because Joab's military radar was pinging a different destination. He saw Adonijah as the rugged, off-road vehicle the kingdom needed, traditional, warrior-strong, battle-tested. Solomon? Too much like a test model or a compact hybrid for Joab's taste. So Joab followed his own map, the one marked political survival and what keeps me safe. Enter Abiathar, one of the kingdom's top 2 spiritual leaders. When the succession drama hit, he fumbled hard, picked the wrong prince, ignored the anointed one, and sided with whoever Joab, his military bestie, was hyping. Big oof. He wasn't buying the divine choice hype, too risky, too uncertain, too prophetic. They are team traditional. Decades of loyalty don't vanish overnight. Meanwhile, his rival priest, Zadok, was already in Solomon's DMs. New king equals new favorites, equals he's out. Either they didn't trust the Solomon prophecy, or self-preservation beat divine directions. Classic Joab, convinced his GPS knows better than God's. While Team Solomon, Nathan, Zadok, Benaiah trusted the divine itinerary like faithful passengers, Joab and Abiathar basically switched to a different app. The power play. So Adonijah decides it's time. His father is old, bedridden, and clearly not running the kingdom anymore. And what does Adonijah do? Adonijah exalted himself, saying, I will be king. So he got chariots and horses ready and an escort of 50 men. This is roughly about 3 to 8 years after Absalom's rebellion. Now chariots, horses, 50 bodyguards, that's exactly what Absalom did before his rebellion. Is he copying Absalom's rebellion, or is this his way to announce, I'm the crown prince and I'm ready to rule? Abiathar, one of the high priests, backed Adonijah. A man who literally speaks to God for a living thought Adonijah should be king. So here's the million-dollar question. Did Adonijah genuinely believe God was with him? Because from where Adonijah was standing, he had every reason to think this was God's will. He's the oldest son. The military commander supports him. The high priest supports him. His father never told him no. In heaven was silent. And isn't that the dangerous part? When God is silent, we assume he agrees with us. How many people today have launched ministries, started businesses, made major life decisions, all because God didn't stop me? Adonijah threw a massive feast, invited everyone except Solomon and a few inconvenient VIPs, then casually assumed the kingship. And the feast was staged as a self-coronation ceremony. Smooth. But here's what Adonijah didn't know. While he was having his coronation party, there was another plan already in motion. In the palace, the prophet Nathan rushes to Bathsheba with urgent news. He basically says, "Breaking news, Adonijah crowned himself and David has no clue. Also, you and Solomon might die." So, yeah, this wasn't just throne drama, it was survival mode. This next part changed everything for me. Nathan coaches Bathsheba on exactly what to say. She reminds the dying king, "My lord, you swore Solomon would be king after you." Here's the spicy question no one asks. Did David actually make that promise? Or is Bathsheba jogging his memory on a very convenient private convo? Because if it was public knowledge, why did Joab and Abiathar back Adonijah? However, Adonijah was aware that Solomon was next in line. He knew, at least by the time he acted, that Solomon was the one designated to reign, and he tried to get ahead of that. Then Nathan swoops in and confirms her story. Basically, "Your Majesty, did you authorize this? Or are we witnessing history's most awkward hostile takeover?" Masterclass in political maneuvering. So David, old, weak, lying in bed, immediately declares, "Solomon will be king." And just like that, the game is over. Adonijah's coronation party gets crashed by trumpets and cheering, earthquake vibes. A runner bursts in, "It's over, Solomon's king, David said so." Adonijah panics and sprints to the altar like, "Sanctuary, sanctuary." Solomon basically says to Adonijah, "Behave and live, mess up and die." Adonijah bows, gets mercy, and is sent home. Roll credits, right? Two brothers, one throne, peaceful coexistence. Except Adonijah has to make one tiny request. He goes to Bathsheba and says, "Please ask King Solomon, he will not refuse you, to give me Abishag the Shunammite as my wife." Now, who is Abishag? She was the young, beautiful woman brought in to keep old King David warm in his final days. She technically belonged to the king's household. Ancient Near East rulebook, sleep with the king's woman equals claim the throne. Exhibit A, Absalom. He rebels, hops into David's concubines publicly, and basically posts, "I'm the king now." So when Adonijah asks for Abishag, was he just a lonely guy who fell in love? Or was this a coded power move? Bathsheba relays the request. Solomon snaps, "If that's what he wants, he might as well get the throne." Same day, order given, Adonijah is executed. So, was Adonijah genuinely in love with Abishag? Or was he once again auditioning for the role of traitor to the throne? And if it was treason, couldn't Solomon just ground his brother instead of straight up ending the season? Think about it. If Adonijah was really plotting a coup again, would he seriously go through Bathsheba, the queen mother herself? Genius move or breathtakingly naive? So was he executed for ambition or for being clueless? Here's what makes this story so uncomfortable. Solomon, the king famous for his wisdom, the king who wrote Proverbs, the king God loved, starts his reign by killing his brother. Was this really necessary? Solomon also had Joab and Shimei killed and Abiathar deposed and banished. So, before the temple, before the wisdom, before the Proverbs, Solomon's first move? Clean house and lock down the throne. Was this righteous justice, or was this ancient realpolitik, the cold, calculated removal of anyone who could threaten his throne? When does protecting God's plan become a convenient excuse to get rid of people who threaten our position? How many pastors have fired staff members for the good of the ministry? How many leaders have silenced critics to protect what the people want? How many people have been canceled, removed, or destroyed, all in the name of preserving something righteous? Solomon had God's blessing, but he also had blood on his hands. Here's the thing, there are Adonijahs everywhere, in churches, in families, in businesses. The spirit of Adonijah is that guy who acts like being crowned already, collects the right people, talks like the boss, and swears he's next up. You've seen it before. The worship leader pre-launching their church, the associate quietly thinking I'd run this better, and the son grabbing the family business before dad's even done. But here's the flip side. Sometimes the Solomons are just better at controlling the narrative. So how do you know the difference? Here are the warning signs you might be operating in the spirit of Adonijah. You're moving because of timing and opportunity, not of your right. Adonijah moved because David was old, not because he was appointed. You're gathering people and taking things into your own hands instead of waiting patiently for your official proclamation. You're assuming silence means approval. Just because God hasn't stopped you doesn't mean God sent you. You're next in line, but you are still in the line. If you have to fight, manipulate, or campaign for it, it might not be yours. But here's the hard truth for the Solomons out there too. Just because you won doesn't mean you were right. Solomon got the throne. But did he have to kill his brother to keep it? Is Nathan and Bathsheba's awareness that Solomon, also known as Jedediah, means beloved of the Lord, from the moment of his birth, the reason they orchestrated such a brilliant political maneuver? So here's what we're left with. What's worse, ambition without permission or power without consideration? Adonijah had ambition. He was bypassed, hurt, and acted badly, and he died for it. King Solomon had power. He ruled with God's blessing, but he brutally eliminated the competition. And maybe the lesson isn't to pick a side. Maybe the lesson is to realize that the kingdom of God is also complicated, is also messy, and also far more human than we want to admit. King David was a man after God's own heart, who also committed adultery and murder. King Solomon was the wisest man who ever lived, who also married 700 wives and turned away from God. And Adonijah? Maybe he was a villain, maybe he was a victim, maybe he was just a man who was born on the wrong side of a promise. A parallel sense of life's unpredictability, highlighting how tomorrow's boasts dissolve into chaos. Out, brief candle, life's but a walking shadow. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Closing thought. Never brag about tomorrow. You don't know what will happen between now and then. When ambition forgets limits, it remembers only graves. This serves as a cautionary tale about the consequences of unchecked desire for success or power, which can lead to the neglect of moral, relational, and spiritual boundaries. Adonijah, a brother of Solomon, exemplifies this warning. After attempting to usurp the throne, he was granted forgiveness, yet he failed to appreciate the value of contentment. As the saying goes, enough is as good as a feast. Embracing sufficiency is essential. Excessive ambition can tarnish the blessings we already possess. True happiness is found in appreciating what we have, and Adonijah should have recognized his limits. If this video made you think, hit that like button. If it made you uncomfortable, leave a comment and tell me why. And if you want more deep dives into the Bible's most controversial stories, subscribe to be the first. I'll see you in the next one.